Hello, everybody. My name is J Onwuka, and I am your presenter for this episode. And what I'm going to present to you today is a very disordered explanation, or at least my explanation, for why things are the way they are in the Pokemon universe setting world. Now, I can't say that I'm a Pokemon expert. I did play the games when I was growing up. I was a kid when Red and Blue came out in the United States, and I've always been interested in them, even though I haven't necessarily kept up with playing all the games. But the idea of the Pokemon setting has always intrigued me, and one of the reasons that it is intriguing is because it has these sort of it raises these questions, you know, when you watch it and you see like, well, why are all these kids going around unsupervised? You know, these sorts of questions that it raises are kind of interesting to think about. So basically, I thought about it, and I'm just going to present to you how I sort of link all of these elements together. I'm not going to really go into like extreme depth on like, okay, what is the brass tower or what is this and that. I more want to explain the sort of, I guess, bigger picture things, like, you know, is there a government that's outside of Pokemon? Like, how, you know, do they have to follow regular laws? Yeah, again, you know, why are children just walking around on this quest? Aren't Pokemon extremely dangerous? Why are people just sort of fighting their pets and stuff? So I guess what I think I am trying to give anybody who wants to hear it is just a way that you can sort of put everything together in a kind of headcanon that hangs together. And again, this is really just because I thought it would be a fun exercise for myself, and I'm just recording it because I think other people might find it interesting. So anyway, to move on to the main subject at hand, again, I'm just going to have a little bit of a ramble here. I've written down some notes, but I don't have anything as, you know, definitely scripted as, you know, my usual Blood War videos, for instance. So probably I will, you know, enunciate a little bit less poorly than usual, but that's, you know, that's something that we're all going to have to get through together. So, you know, when I say, you know, let's get to the main subject, primarily, I'm going to try and answer 3 questions, or basically I have 3 sort of main topics that I'm tackling throughout all of this. The first one is, how and why do humans control Pokemon? The second is, what is the Pokemon journey about? And the third one is, what is the Pokemon Association? What are the leagues, and what's the gyms, and what is all that about? And most of this information is not sort of mined through the games or, you know, through reading the anime and stuff. These are questions that I had, you know, from my own memory of Pokemon and from, you know, yeah, just, you know, watching videos and stuff like that. These are the questions that came to me, and then I've used Bulbapedia, bulbapedia.net, to sort of get some of the details that I needed to sort of construct what I've got here. So if you have any other details that would run counter to this, definitely leave them in the comments, and you know, I look forward to reading them and responding, and you know, just having some fun thinking about this this video game series. Okay, so to get started, I think the biggest event that sort of puts the Pokemon setting as it is in the games, The main thing that sets that up is an event that isn't really, it's not strictly in, it's not on Bulbapedia, but it's something that I think is an important idea as far as, why this society comes about. Basically, what I'm saying is that there is a kind of a Pokemon revolution at some point, and this comes, the earliest it could come, according to Bulbapedia, would be 1925, and that's because in 1925 there was the invention of mass-produced Pokeballs, and this is one of the very few exact dates as far as years that are on Bulbapedia. Most of them are given as 100 years before this generation, 300 years before this generation, but 1925 is bolted right there. So we can say that the Pokemon setting is on a vaguely similar timeline as ours, and so in the earliest 1925, and then sometime between then and about 20 years ago, we have this Pokemon revolution. And this is a revolution not like the French or Russian revolutions. This is a revolution like the Industrial Revolution. Basically what happens is, now that people have mass market Pokeballs, more people can go out and capture Pokemon. It's safer to have Pokemon around in your houses. It's just more convenient, so more people start to use them, and then the uses of Pokemon become much more part of society. So basically what I'm saying here is, it's not that people didn't know about Pokemon before this Pokemon revolution, but before then they weren't using Pokemon in the way that you see in the anime, where if there's a building on fire, you'll get a Squirtle to come by and shoot water on it. They weren't necessarily doing that all the time. Okay, so what I would say is, before this, there are articles and there is evidence of, it shows up sometimes in the animes and even in the games, where you have, earlier forms of Pokemon control or capturing devices. They used to use apricorns. I think in one, I'm not even sure. I read, again, this is something from Bulbapedia, so I'm not exactly sure where this source is, but it does make mention that Professor Oak is photographed somewhere with a wood Pokeball, and it's not that this, the capability of capturing Pokemon in Pokeballs was new. It was just, again, now it was available to the much wider public. But the main thing to sort of understand, though, isn't necessarily the capturing part. The main thing is that clearly Pokemon would have been trained and, domesticated before this. So that probably has a very long history. I can't really pinpoint that anywhere, in the history, just because it's kept so vague, and I believe that is by design. But, in Bulbapedia, you never really know, when society exactly began. There's no first city or anything like that, which is okay. It gives you a lot of space to think. But my point is that even though, it is mentioned that Pokemon came to the world after humans did, regardless, it was that there was most likely a long enough time where humans were able to get used to Pokemon and integrate them into their lives in some way. One of the major questions that I've seen about, what doesn't make sense about the Pokemon world is, how do humans, survive, or how did humans become sort of the ones who controlled Pokemon instead of Pokemon sort of ravaging everything? And there's a couple things here. Number one, I think the most sort of evident is humans are able to organize and defend themselves, and Pokemon are not as likely to group up in order to attack, humans. So it'll always be possible for a group of humans to go catch certain animals and overpower them, or certain Pokemon rather, and then overpower them, in a sort of ambush setting. But also, one thing that we have to remember is that even if we're talking about sort of real life animals don't normally try and attack humans unless they're being provoked. I'm not saying that it never happens, but it's not as if, just living, you're going to be under constant danger from every sort of bit of wildlife around you. So, partly it's that humans can get together and organize themselves. Partly it's that humans can capture and train Pokemon to use against other Pokemon. So they would have always had that kind of advantage. And not just that, but the ability to use them in a sort of mass strategic way, right? Where you have a big strategic plan together, which wild Pokemon, it's not necessarily that they don't even have, it's not necessarily about intelligence. It's wild Pokemon just don't organize in groups large enough to where they would be thinking, okay, well, we gotta figure out our battle plan, who's gonna stand where, right? Humans are always shown to have an advantage in that capacity. So that's the basic, logic behind how humans can quote unquote overpower Pokemon and to get them to do their bidding. It's the same thing that humans have, when, you're talking about how, Europe has been basically ridden completely of all large animals other than work animals. There used to be lions in Europe, and lions are all gone now. Well, lions are fiercer. I mean, lions can kill humans, obviously, but they were still gotten rid of. So, I guess, that's too long to say, basically. Don't necessarily think just because, okay, a Charizard can breathe fire, that necessarily means that a Charizard is always going to be able to take out humans and, make a consistent problem for them. Now, another big question is, okay, so there's Pokemon here. Are regular animals still around? And to that, there's never really a definitive answer given, but I believe that the amount of Pokemon in the setting and the very, very few animals that we do see in any medium, I think that means in general, Pokemon sort of outcompeted animals to the point where, true animals basically are they're so little represented that either they're in zoos, or you might have a dog as a pet or something like that, but you're not gonna see a pack of loose dogs if you're in a city or something like that. It's just there aren't enough dogs for that to be the case. And the sort of idea that I've been able to cobble together is that originally Earth was, or I'm not sure if the Pokemon planet is called Earth. Actually, I didn't even think to look that up, but let's say it's Earth. That's what it's called. On this planet, originally you would have had humans and animals, and then at some point Pokemon came to the world and they decided, okay, well, there's all these certain creatures, so we'll take on these forms, and then there's these kinds of objects, we'll take these forms, there's these plants, we'll take these forms, fungi, etc., etc. So the fact that you would have a real bison, let's say, I mean, Pokemon are in general taken to be, much more powerful than an animal would be. And then, even if we're not saying like bison and cattle, let's talk about horses. If you have a group of wild horses, and then you have, ponytas and rapidashes, which are fire horses, sort of competing for that same space, there's really no contest. The real horses are going to lose against the fire horses. So just in terms of competition, because you're taking these forms that already exist, clearly you're going to be sort of in the way of these other creatures that already exist. So there's very likely, a period where you have this sort of intense competition between true animals and Pokemon, and the Pokemon appear to have won out. So I guess, one other thing that brings up is, all right, so Pokemon came to the world after there were already humans and animals. Well, humans and animals evolved. What exactly are Pokemon if they aren't something that evolved on this planet? And what I would say, and I don't think this isn't something that is found in the sources, but it's what makes the most sense to me, given that, you can take a creature and put it into a small ball. Where does it live? How can you transfer it into a computer and all of that? What I would say is that Pokemon are actually energy creatures. And, as I'm trying to figure out the best way to put this, because this is a weird concept, right? But I'm not going to be able to explain the actual sort of science behind it, but I think it's fairly common knowledge that at a certain point, which is obviously not like easy to reach, but at a certain point, matter and energy can transfer, right? So I'm sort of just assuming, right, that these Pokemon are a completely alien type of energy, something that we really don't, like, that we in our world don't have any analog to. But these energy creatures, what happens is these energy creatures have come down, and for whatever reason, they've decided, okay, we're going to sort of colonize this planet, even though there's people here, whatever, we're still going to colonize this planet. How are we going to do that? Well, we're going to take these matter forms. But okay, so that's how Pokemon came to be here. Then again, on some kind of vague process, humans found out a way to convert these Pokemon back into energy, which could then be stored in a number of different manners. This technology would have been known for a while, right? Because you have all of these ancient artifacts that are able to hold Pokemon in a similar way to the apricorns and the Pokeballs did. But much like the ability to train a Pokemon would have been sort of special knowledge at this point, the ability to make something that could capture Pokemon would have been even more special knowledge. And, not only that, you have to find the right materials to do so. Like the apricorns, for instance, from what I've been able to read, the apricorn usage as a container for Pokemon energy is fairly recent. It's like one of the things that led right up to the creation of mass market Pokeballs. Yeah, so basically I just feel that Pokemon as energy creatures in their native state solves a lot of the issues that are brought up by them being in Pokeballs, because what the Pokeball is doing isn't like putting a creature into a different universe, it's converting the creature back into its energy form and keeping it in that form. Whereas outside, it couldn't maybe continue to exist in just that energy form, so it might need to take the matter form when it's outside of a container, right? But if it's energy, then you can see, right, okay, well, how can all of these Pokemon, when they evolve, they take on these weird new shapes? Well, it's because it's not a biological process. It's the energy saying, okay, well, we've reached sort of, we've either reached the limit of this particular form, or we feel we want to convert to something new or whatever, it for a short period turns back into energy and then reforms itself into a new matter shape. So, and basically, once you say that, okay, we have the Pokeball ability to convert these things into these Pokemon into energy, and it's going to be a sort of technological process, right? Then it's like, okay, well, we can transfer this Pokemon energy between Pokeballs, clearly, so we can use that same process to sort of transfer them through this network, and that's the computer network that you see in the games. So again, you're not like sending them off somewhere, in the mail to a special preserve. You're storing them in energy in what's effectively like a cloud, computing cloud, right? Where anywhere you are at these Pokemon centers, you can access this cloud and, bring out the energy that you had stored in there and put it back into your Pokeball, and now you have your Pokemon with you again. So yeah, I mean, I think that's I think that's a pretty fair explanation of what Pokemon are and why humans are able to control them. It's basically the same reason that humans could domesticate animals. We are sapient creatures, and animals by and large are not. So, having, I guess, established the prehistory or the history of the human Pokemon relationship, I want to go up past the Pokemon Revolution and let's go to where the Pokemon Association was founded. Again, there's no sort of clear date on when the Pokemon Association was founded, and what the Pokemon Association is, because I don't think this name necessarily comes up in the games itself. But the Pokemon Association is like the governing body for the league challenges, the Elite Four, and they're all of that stuff. And basically, what I'm saying is, I think that the Pokemon Association are in charge of everything that has to do with Pokemon, from the production of Pokeballs to the like sort of sanctioning gyms to the upkeep of the league's setup and everything. The Pokemon Association is sort of the top group, and there are separate Pokemon Association branches in each region. I'm not going to say that there is an overall structure. You can sort of imagine that however you would like. Maybe they all come together in like a council of, Pokemon Association presidents, and they all hash out, worldwide issues between them. Or maybe it is like a top-down structure and there is actually a head of the International Pokemon Association. I don't know if that's ever made clear in any of the media, but really, for the purposes of going through any one region at any one time, all that's really necessary to know is that the Pokemon Association is what stands over everything. And I would say that this comes after the Pokemon Revolution, because these associations and things always come after the big movement has pushed on and become like a big part of the culture. So it's only after, you have all of these, you have Pokemon as a big societal phenomenon, and people are battling Pokemon, maybe without much regulation, getting hurt and all that kind of stuff. Then you need somebody to come in and say, okay, we're going to set some rules here so that people can do this more safely. And once the Pokemon Association comes into the picture, that's when you can start having things like the trainer journeys that you go on in the games. So let's talk about the trainer journeys. In the games, we're really focused on sort of becoming the Pokemon master. So you sort of think that the whole journey for everyone is that they want to become the Pokemon champion. But I think that it would be a good idea to sort of recontextualize what the game is, because once you do that, I think it makes a whole lot more sense. As a kid, you're not going up against the best of the best to, show that you're the actual most skilled in the world. The Pokemon journey and the League Challenge is really something that children do. And when you go up against somebody who is, an adult gym leader, they're not competing with you. They're setting you a challenge that you're supposed to try and overcome. So in that context, I guess what's important to understand is that the league champion isn't the most important person in the region. They're really a figurehead, they're somebody who's really popular, a celebrity, but at the end of the day, being the league champion shouldn't be your crowning achievement in life. If it is, then you've really messed up at some point. Being league champion is something that you achieve, in the prime of your life, or when you're, it's sort of if you are on a team that wins the Little League World Series. That's great. You've won the Little League World Series, but when you get onto the real world, that doesn't matter. It will never matter. Not the way that real professional qualifications matter. So the trainer journey has, it's given a lot of importance because that's what the games are about, but it's actually it's something that only really gung-ho children want to do. People who want to go and explore the world a little bit, and it should be seen as kind of more like a walking tour, I guess. You're just going around and seeing your area, and everything is marked out. You're going from town to town. In the anime, you'll see that Pokemon centers have beds and food, and they take care of trainers who are coming through. So it's really a very well set up, tour for these kids to go out, see their region, maybe get familiar with all of the different creatures in the region, because one of the main skills that you can have in this setting is being able to be good with Pokemon. So it's not even you're sending these kids off to do something that's not beneficial for them. You're really setting people who might not be good with a regular sit down learning environment. You're giving them the ability to hone some skills that could be useful for them in the future. So of the sort of major parts of the Pokemon journey, getting the license is actually the most important part of the Pokemon journey, because that means that you're allowed to deal with Pokemon. And that's the thing that's going to be most important if you want to get, a job with construction. You want to be able to, your employers are going to want to know that you can deal with the construction Pokemon who are doing the heavy lifting, because they're more capable, they're stronger and such, right? Next, getting gym badges is kind of important, because that will show that, you're you can problem solve, you can control your Pokemon to a certain level, and it always looks good if you've won something, right? If you won a competition, just having that competitive spirit is usually something good to show your employers. Winning the league is just it's nice, but again, it's like winning the Little League World Series. It's something that's good and it's a great accomplishment, but it's not the key to your life. So I guess where does that put gym leaders and the Elite Four? And I put them together because they really serve the same purpose, which is that they're just tests to see that you have the right skills to move on in the challenge, right? They're not all there to beat you. They're not there to show you up until, I guess, later points when the Elite Four is made into more of a tournament thing. But especially in the early games, it's all there as a test. And then the league champion is like the last person who passed all the tests and then beat their previous person, right? That is the person who passed the test the most recently, but that's really all it means. It doesn't mean that you're like, it's not like a wrestling championship where you sort of reign and you this is the big prize. This is just like, okay, you're the person who's like now the final test, but you're not like the league champion might not be as good as the people on the Elite Four, who could theoretically all be like very professional people, but who are gonna, work down a little bit because their job isn't to beat everybody, it's just to prove that they have this level. But you also see young gym leaders and young Elite Four members. So what's that about? Basically, I think anybody can sort of petition to become a gym leader or a member of the Elite Four. It's just these things are just jobs. It's not like the league champion or anything like that. It's like, if you want to have the job, that's fine, right? Probably you have to have beaten that gym to do that. But beyond that, if the gym leader is like, I don't really feel like doing this anymore, and there's a vacancy, and the Pokemon Association feels that you would have a good, you would provide a good test for people, then you can have that position at sort of any age, because you're still near a Pokemon Center. You're not like on your own necessarily. It's not like just a kid by themselves. Clearly there would be some kind of rough supervision, So then why would you do this if you're a young trainer? Maybe you are thinking about going on your own Pokemon journey to get all the badges. Well, like I said, becoming the league champion isn't everything. But even if you are, a younger person who is thinking, okay, maybe I do want to become league champion at some point, it could still be a good idea to stay at a gym for, a few months, a year or so, and really work on your skills in a competitive setting, as opposed to going out there to look at different Pokemon and stuff. It's really about what you want to build yourself for, but it's really not like a shame for an older gym leader to lose to a kid, even though they might feel ashamed or whatever, they might express that or whatever. Their job is to get beaten. They know they're not trying to make it easy, but they know at the end of the day that their job has been done when the right people, the people with the skills, are able to get past them, right? And if they beat everybody, well, then it might make them personally feel good, but they're not really doing their job. And I think in that kind of situation, the Pokemon Association will probably step in and say, hey, we've set this up so people can get through it. If you're just going to beat everybody with your full force or whatever, like, that, you're not really doing your job properly, and that's probably a replaceable bit of misconduct. But okay, so like I said, the most important thing is to get that license. Why is that? Well, it's pretty simply because there's a lot of other places in the Pokemon setting that can give you credentials to get that job that you want. You have a bunch of Pokemon Academies, number one. So if you're just talking about getting these Pokemon skills, well, you can go to a Pokemon Academy. At least every region seems to have at least one. So that's a way where if you're more of a bookish person, you can sort of get any kind of certification that way. Then there's also like specialty schools like the Pokemon Nurse School or the Battle Judge Training Institute in Bomba Island, and those will give you different kind of job credentials and stuff like that. And then there are also, you know, apprenticeships and yada yada yada. You know, there's other ways to get that experience dealing with Pokemon if that's what you need, but all of them are going to need at base a license. So yeah, basically, you know, as far as the whole journey goes, it's something, you know, it's just like a diversion for kids. You know, maybe like it's like a gap year or whatever. They take a walking tour of your region and they get some, you know, life experience and experience Pokemon. Now there's another part of the Pokemon journey, and that's catching all the Pokemon in the region, filling up the Pokédex. So what is this about? You know, people will always point out, you know, the Pokédex already has all the information in here. Like, if it didn't have the information, it's not going to pull up like complete sentences in English or Japanese just from looking at the Pokemon. Clearly you have the information in here. So what is that about? The Pokédex's main purpose is, from the standpoint of the researchers who, you know, are in charge of distributing the Pokédexes, the purpose is to confirm data that's out in the world. And if there is a new Pokemon that I haven't seen, obviously it's going to get what it can from that and put it back in the database. But the main thing is like performing this kind of running check on what Pokemon are like. Have the Pokemon in the region gotten heavier than the last time somebody was around? Have they, you know, developed new abilities? Have they developed a new type? All these types of things are really what like you're kind of rechecking as the Pokemon journeyer. Now, as the person who is taking that journey, you are most likely being motivated by thoughts of becoming a Pokemon master. And now becoming a Pokemon master is something that's really never clearly defined, but most of the descriptions of what a Pokemon master is involve catching most of or all of the Pokemon in your region. So basically, the Pokédex is a way to sort of mark that a specific trainer has gone to all these places and, you know, seen all these Pokemon, and it's like a validation that yes, this person is a Pokemon master. What does being a Pokemon master mean? You know, again, like I said, it was kept vague on Bulbapedia, and that means I'm guessing it's more vague in the games and the anime and all of the material. But what I think it is like sort of like being a valedictorian of your high school or something like that. It's a very nice accolade, you know. It's like having a 4.0 GPA, 5.0 GPA, whatever the highest is now. It's like having your 1600 or 2400 SAT. You know, it's one of these things that shows like, okay, this is somebody we should take notice of. But it's for obviously Pokemon training, Pokemon handling, those types of things. Now, it might be an official title that's given out by the Pokemon Association. It might not be. It might just be something like, okay, like, wow, this guy's a master because he's, you know, seen all these Pokemon. He's got a lot of experience. So, yeah, basically, you know, Pokédexes, as Bulbapedia mentions, aren't given out to every single trainer that wants to go on the trainer's journey even. They're going to be given out to people who seem like they are best fit for what the Pokemon is there for, which is to say, they're going to be given to people whoever the researcher or professor is, feel like is going to go out of their way to see as much as they can. And that's not to say necessarily that they expect these children to go out and like go to dangerous places, but they might favor the kids who, not, again, it's not like they think like, oh, this kid's going to go to dangerous places, but they might think, okay, this kid is an adventurous kid. He's going to, you know, maybe another kid would pass by the safari zone, but he's going to go in there and see what's up and see, you know, it's not necessarily that they think the kid is going to be reckless, but the kid will take more opportunities to see what's out there. And those are the kinds of kids that they want to give the Pokedexes, because, you know, if you give it to just this random kid who only goes along the bike path and then, you know, fights in his gyms and whatever, and he's got a good team because he's trained them well, but he's never tried to see all these other places, the Pokedex is kind of wasted for that kid, right? You know, it might be able to tell him something about what he's looking at, right? But it's not going to be any benefit for the researchers. And at the end of the day, that's mostly what it's about. I think that's really all I had as far as this sort of ramble goes. I think I got through everything that I wanted to mention. I did, you know, I had a note here about TMs and HMs, and again, they're basically working on a similar technology, or a technology derived from the Pokeball technology, which allows them to sort of interface somehow with the Pokemon in an energy form. So it, like, you know, it deals in it with it like similar to data, energy, etc. You know, it has that. It's not like showing something a video of a move and then it's like, oh, okay, I get it now. It's like, okay, we can sort of like bind this to you in some kind of mystic energy sense. Now, if you want me to explain what this mystic energy sense is, I can't. You just sort of have to accept that this is a world where like magic type stuff exists, but the magic is mostly just that Pokemon are there. And if you can accept that, which I'm guessing most of you can if you play the games, then I think that at the very least all of this is an interesting way to think about it all. Yeah, I think that's all I have. So I hope this was enjoyable for you. I have been your presenter, J Onwuka. Please support me on Patreon and follow my Twitter. I will leave that all in the description. And yeah, you know, thanks.